In this video, we are going to see how to use Webpack to transpile ES6 plus code to something like some JavaScript code which can be understood by older browsers, something like ES5 code or something. We saw in one of the earlier videos that from 2015, new versions of JavaScript started to come every year, starting from ES6, which involved slightly different syntax which was available in ES5. So for example, earlier only var keyword was available. From ES6, let and const were introduced. Also this arrow function syntax was not available. So the problem is that let's say you like this syntax and you want to write your code in this modern format, but older browsers might not support these things, right? So for example, let's say this is the main source code, which is the entry file from Webpack, and the final compiled file. Let's say you build it. Let's say npm run build, and then you will get here this index.js, and you want to see that actually this code is transformed into what code actually. So you see that, yeah, so somehow the code is exactly not visible, and they are saying that they are using eval dev tool, and that's why it is happening. So in the development environment, by default they are using this eval dev tool. So in order to fix that, what you have to do is that so you can see that you can see in string so your piece of code, but you cannot see your piece of code like clearly like this, right? So in order to do that, what you have to do is that you have to go here and write dev tool false. So later you can see that you can use various dev tools for debugging purposes, which creates might be some source map or something which is used for debugging. Source map is used for example, somewhere your code crashed or error happened, then you want to know from the browser by clicking that what is the exact line in your original source where it has happened. You understand the problem? The problem is that your code was earlier having, let's say, 20 lines, and when it compiled it became, let's say, 50 lines. Your 50 lines compiled code is running in the browser, but you want to know, you don't want to bother about this compiled file. You want to know that in your original file what was the line number where you are getting error, but actually you are getting error from here. So in order to fix that, there is something called source map, which is given by dev tool in Webpack configuration. Right now we'll just do dev tool false so that we can at least see the code. Right now the dev tool was eval, that's why this code I was not able to see. So let's build it again by entering this dev tool false, and now if we build, then you see that the new piece of code is somewhat legible, right? And now we can see that, yeah, this was the original piece of code, and somehow Webpack transpiled it to something like this. But this is still, as you can see, this is still like somewhat modern code, right? You can see that Webpack is using some arrow function for themselves. Moreover, our piece of code is still like ES6 plus, and which we need to transpile somehow. So firstly, let me show you that what is the problem. So let's say we run this. So npm so what is the command here? And npm start will simply start serving, right? So let's do npm start, and now this is started on localhost 3000, and obviously these are the modern browsers, and that's why when our piece of code is this and we are running the transpiled code, then also this thing is working fine, right? Even though we can clearly see that the code which is actually used is ES6 code. You can see that arrow functions and const, everything is there, but then also our browser is modern, right? This browser which we are running on, and that's why it will be running perfectly fine. Now I'm going to show you a different thing, that how you can test that, which on which browser, older browser, something let's say some error is coming, then how to debug that. So therefore there is a tool called browser stack. This is a paid software, but and online web app where you can run your apps in different browser versions, older browser versions also. So they will give you something like this, like you can run in whatever browser version you want, earlier version also, and then you can see that whether it is your website is working fine or not. Now how to go about it, that where should I run my piece of code so that I can see that there is a difference in the modern syntax and let's say older syntax. For that, you can use a website called can I use. Okay, so in Google, if you write something like let's say, can I use Canva, sorry, can I use that thing, arrow function, right? So can I use arrow functions? So if you will get one of the results where you'll see that caniuse.com has a page for arrow functions where it can show you that from what versions these things are allowed. Okay, so you can see that till Chrome 44 it was not supported, from Chrome 45 it is supported. So what if I go and run my code in Chrome 44? Then arrow functions is not supported, right? Then whatever this piece of code should break, right? And that is exactly what we want to do. So on localhost 3000, and actually they have a support for not only you can run websites like something like example.com, some other website, you can also add support for your local host. So actually local host you can also run directly here. They have support for that. You have to install some plugin or something, but right now we have to go, let's say, to Chrome 44, right? What will happen that they will so I'm just showing you for demonstration purpose. You might not want to do it because this is a paid software, but anyways I'm just showing you that how the code breaks and how to change our webpack configuration so that we can get actual ES5 transpiled code rather than code which is using modern syntax. Okay, so the idea is that we like modern syntax, we want to write our code in modern syntax, right? But we don't want to remove the support for older browsers. So let's say this right now, this Chrome 44 is started, right? Now in this Chrome 44, I if I run this piece of code, so this local host, so I think it was localhost 3000, right? So let's go and write localhost 3000. So localhost 3000, right? And we can see that okay, so somehow my local setup is not working. Let me check. So let's try again. I believe there was an issue with local setup. Now it is working fine. So now if you inspect element, see this hello world, just it was in HTML, so that should work anyways fine. I'm more interested in that console log, and you can see that it is saying that unexpected token, this what this parents, right? And that is because this piece of code. So actually you can see that when you are actually running this code, then actually you are actually executing this piece of code, and this has modern syntax, but this is like Chrome 44, so it will not even reach here only it will get syntax error, right? So firstly we have to fix this issue. Okay, so in order to do that, let's firstly remove firstly change so this code is not written by us, right? This code is written by Webpack, right? So the first thing we want to do is that we want to say that don't wrap in something like arrow function or something. How to transform our code, that we will come next, that how this piece of code should be transformed, that we'll see next. But first thing we want to do is that at least this thing should not be automatically added by Webpack. So for that we are going to do some changes. In Webpack config, you can write target, and then in array you can write web and ES5. So now you are saying that don't emit ES6 code, just try to emit web ES5 code for web platform, right? Actually, you can emit for Node.js platform also, but right now we are trying to build it for the browser, right? Simply. So this should work fine, right? Now let's run again, build, and let's see what is the difference. This time, the code which is emitted, you can see that it is not using arrow function at the top level, right? So they have not done anything. Whatever the mistake is there, not mistake, whatever is the piece of code is there, that is because of our code, because our code is written like this, and that's why they have emitted it, bundled it like this. They have not changed anything because we have not told to change anything, right? That is the first thing. Firstly, let's try to run this code again. So npm start, and now in localhost 3000, let's refresh, and now you can see that still there is an error because this thing is now fixed, but again what is this symbol, this arrow syntax is not known to Chrome 44, and that's why this is you are getting this error, right? So now our purpose is to how to fix this code, that somehow we want to write modern syntax, but the browser the webpack, when it compiles it, it should compile it to the older syntax so that it can be run by older browsers also. But we don't want to take the full advantage of newer syntax so that it is easy to write and easy to develop our applications. Okay, so for that, firstly you have to install a few softwares. So as usual, we are going to install a few packages. So apart from these packages, we are going to install a few packages as dev dependencies, and they are called, first one is Babel loader, second one is at Babel / core. So this is like the Babel is used for transformation, and it is used, it is the core of the Babel. Babel loader will be used in Babel loader is used to, like, so for example, connect webpack with Babel. Okay, Babel is the main engine which transforms the code. And secondly, we want to finally we want to know that what are the various, what is the rule which you are. So basically we are interested in transforming ES6 to ES5, right? So for that there is something called Babel / preset env, preset-env. So if you install all these three packages, Babel loader, add Babel / core, and Babel preset-env, then obviously it is dev dependency, right? So this would be installed here. So you can see that all the three packages are installed. Now we have to use this, right? So the first thing we have to do is that we have to go to webpack, and somehow somewhere like let's say here after target and before devtool, we have to write some piece of code, right? And that piece of code is something like this. When we add this piece of code in the webpack configuration, let's have a look at it. So this we added right now, which is a module, and inside module there's an the key object, the value is object, and that object has rules key. That rules key is an array. That array has one item, one object, and that has three key value properties. The first thing is test, and this is a regular expression. You know that this syntax, right? That // which means that this is a regular expression, and you have to escape dot, because dot will mean otherwise any character, right? I just want to mean dot, that's why /.js, which means that any file which ends in .js, I am only trying to transpile that thing only, because only JavaScript files we are transpiling, right? Exclude node modules, which means that we want to transpile only our source code. We don't want to like transform code which is written inside node modules, because they are third party code, right? And the third thing is that what is the loader? Loader is actually the transformation software which we will be using. So in this case it is just a sort of a connector. So Babel loader will basically use will say that Babel loader will tell you how to transform this piece of code, right? And now once you have this thing, then we know that we have already installed Babel loader here, right? And Babel loader will internally require Babel core, and then Babel core will want that the rules which you want for transformation, that is used by this package, right? And for using this package, what you have to do is that you have to create a new file at the root, and you have to name it dot babelrc.js. You can understand, dot babelrc.js. So this is the file name, and inside that you can write module dot exports is equal to, and inside that you can write presets colon, and in array you can write this value. Okay, so you can understand that what is happening is that now I am saying to Babel. So this is sort of like webpack.config.js is webpack configuration file. Similarly, you can understand that .babelrc.js is Babel's configuration file, and again this name you should not change exactly .babelrc.js, because this is one of the default files which Babel will look for, and if it is there, it will take the configuration from there. Now you see that module.exports and this thing, when we are doing, then we are saying to Babel RC, we are saying to Babel that Babel slash preset in take this package, and the configuration, whatever you the rules we want to transform, that is here. Okay, so this is used to transform ES6 code to ES5 code. So right now you can see that when I transpile, then also I am getting this this piece of code. Right now, since I have added this logic, so now if I build, then it will test all the JS files and it will do the transformation appropriately. So this is also JS file, right? So it will do the transformation appropriately, and now I should not get this. What should I get? So let's see that. So when I run npm run build, then you can see that now I am getting transformed code. So even if I wrote arrow function and const, you can see that I am getting var function. So all the code is transformed to the syntax which is older, right? And there is something called polyfills. So for example, some syntaxes which for which it cannot be directly there is no direct logic, there is no direct functionality already available using which you can. So for example, your arrow function can be simulated using older functions, right? But there can be newer things which is not there. So for normal things, they will Babel will, this preset in package will take care of those things, and it will try to do whatever it can to go and convert it to piece of code which can be run on older browsers. Now there can be a lot of there are a lot of deeper configurations where you can actually target the exact browser version which you want. So let's say I want to target only till browser only till Chrome 80 and Firefox this version. So all those things. So there is something called browser list, and that's browser list configuration. So just if you Google browser list, then you can understand that there is a browsers list, actually it is, yeah. So so Babel, so there is some configuration like this, or you can create a file like this, and then you can you can Google it around. So there are ways in which Webpack can take that configuration and use and transform only till the support for that. You understand what is the problem? So let's say you are writing thousands of lines of code here, right? Then now that is being transformed here. Now as it is going to the older version, so you can see the number of lines of the code might increase, right? So let's say you don't want to go to that end, right? Then what happens that if you say that I don't want to go till Chrome 40 or something, I want to go till Chrome 80 only. So if Chrome 80 supports arrow functions, then it will not transform arrow functions. But if some other things it does not support, then it will just transform that thing, thereby reducing the size of the code, whatever is necessary, not to like do the full transformation. That is the purpose of that browser list. But anyways, that is not we are going to discuss here. Just whatever we just now converted, now you can see that it is successfully converted to ES5 code. And now if you run npm start, right, then obviously here there is no doubt about it that this is like modern, it can even run the modern code, but still you can see that the code is actually ES5 code. And the more important thing is that we are interested in understanding it here, that whether this thing is running successfully or not. And now you can see that even on Chrome 44 it is running successfully. And why is that? That is because That is because the code which we are writing here is now clearly this ES5 code, and that's why it is running perfectly. So yeah, this was the example which you could use to transform this. So now you can slowly understand what are the advantages of Webpack. It's not simply like you have like 100 files or 20 files and it bundles into a single file or something. It has much more advantage. It can do code optimization, it can do chunking, it can bundle in a separate file, it can optimize that file, it can transform this piece of code to something like this for support for older browsers. So Webpack is a sort of a ecosystem where you can see that a separate thing called Babel can be plugged into Webpack, and simply using some rules it can be plugged into that, and now you can use Babel also with the Webpack. So Webpack ecosystem will be able to use other tools also. So yeah, that will be all for now. There are some things. So for example, let's say some fetch API or something which is like modern syntax, modern web API. Those things will not be transformed by Webpack, because that is not a simple transformation, right? You have to write something called polyfills or something which we will discuss later. Okay.